Now, joining us with greater perspective on what's playing out on the market scene is independent global market analyst Boitumelo Letsuma. Boitumelo, lovely to chat to you once again on Business Lunch. Take us through. Let's start with UK unemployment figures. Those numbers have now come out. What are you seeing?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Ray. Looking at the unemployment rate, it stayed steady at about 5.1, and this is basically unchanged from the previous period. And when I read through the update, it was mainly driven by increases among those unemployed between 6 to 12 months, and those also unemployed over a 12-month period. But interestingly enough, total employment increased increased by 82,000 jobs to 34.3 million. And this was mainly supported higher by employee numbers as well as part-time self-employed people. So yeah, that was interesting to see today.
Yeah,
but I think broadly, what's playing out is what you mentioned with the US and the newly posed tariffs into the European markets.
Yeah, looking at those market figures that I've just read out now, this is really playing out. Traders are going, let's go for gold, let's go for platinum, let's just not trade because, I don't know, there's lots of tit for tat going on.
Tit for tat, butter for fat. It's really, I think what's happening at the moment, as you rightfully mentioned, is everybody running towards more of the safe haven assets. I think for the most part, the EU already has about 15% tariffs, and with Trump wanting to impose further tariffs should he not be supported in his bid to buy Greenland completely. There is, an estimated additional 10% now in April, and now in February, and again in June. He would like to increase tariffs by 25%. So it doesn't really paint a good picture. But one thing that I've been seeing from the dignitaries is that they've said that look, they would like to speak to him and negotiate better terms, but should he take over Greenland, they will definitely hit back if necessary to protect European interests as well as national interests.
Gosh, it's interesting. I see that the French president has said to him, no deal. So it starts there. I have to watch those markets. Yeah. Looking at BHP, looking at some company news now. They've got those iron ore figures coming out. Not bad.
Yeah. Not too bad, but I think, the market is mainly focused on the Jansen Potash project, which the costs are estimated to increase once again above that 7 to that range that they initially mentioned to about 8.4 billion. And they also stated that it's based on inflationary and real cost pressures that basically impacted the cost of this purchase. But yeah, I think that's what the market is a bit concerned about, that costs are mounting. But as you rightfully mentioned, from a production standpoint, it looks like there's an uptick in copper production, particularly in its flagship mine in Chile, as well as the other mine in Peru. So I don't want to butcher the names, but a decent production report.
Sure. Right, Merafe is a little bit different though. They've reported lower production. You would have heard this in our bulletin. What is going on there?
Sure. Yeah, that was a very disappointing report from Merafe. It is quite significant, 63% decline in production of the Glencore Merafe Chrome venture. And they mentioned that the venture smelter was a key factor. And they also cited adverse market conditions, not specifying what exactly. And having such a significant amount of production declining from its key mining ventures is quite worrisome. But they did mention that, the chrome ore production decreased slightly by 2%. And then, PGMs don't really make up that much of its production, but those increased by 5%. So it does paint a bit of a bleak picture for the company.
Yeah. What else are you watching? I mean, it's quite an eventful week, despite what's going on in Greenland and all the rest of it. We've got Netflix. We've got their results coming out at some point. We've got Motus and all sorts of problems there. They're battling with Chinese cars coming into this country. What are you watching at the moment?
Today, I mean, while all those are relevant, I am watching Netflix. I mean, it seems like most people have a bullish a stance on the stock, and investors are looking for that aftermarket report to come out. And I think what people are mostly anticipating is what executives have to say about the pending acquisition of the Warner Bros. Discovery. And I think what the deal basically poses is that there is some competition from Paramount Skydance. And there's also concern that, this could impose additional regulatory risks for Netflix. And should it go through, there could be, a short-term impact on free cash flows for the company. So it is something that I would like to hear about, which is what most people are anticipating. But it seems like fundamentally people are quite consensus estimates by analysts are quite bullish on Netflix.
Yeah. We'll get the popcorn ready, I tell you. Right, so hold that thought. Before we get your stock pick, let's reflect on counters that have found favor with your industry peers.
At current levels, very close to its low multiple. If you look over the last 3 years, trading close to the low end of that band, consistently 3% net income margins, solid top line growth between 9 and 12%, and definitely really going deep into the South African economy in terms of how much of the population it touches. So I think going forward, still some value there.
It's kind of in a way, the non-tech stock. That I think what does need to happen is those people who are hurt need to get out of it, and a new guard of shareholders, lunatics like me, who sort of buy, let's call it reasonable levels of earnings growth on reasonable multiples. So I think you need to see that register transition a little bit further. But I think you're very well placed in a business that in some ways is almost like a utility.
Right, so Boitumelo, two big ones there. I mean, Shoprite has come up before. In fact, I think it's come up this week already, Shoprite. That's a sure deal at the moment.
I mean, this is one of my favorite stocks. It's a really cool stock pick. I mean, looking at its revenue, its profits, and how much value that 60/60 platform has contributed to it already. And they're also looking to launch new online shopping options. And they also mentioned the potential to go into banking, and with its already existing infrastructure with the money market part of the company, I think it's in a good position. And with what the management team has been able to achieve under the conditions, and focusing on the underserved and unbanked communities, it seems to be paying off really well. And I think the management team is in a good position to continue to contribute value.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like Shoprite.
Shoprite's great. PayPal. Now there's an interesting one.
Very interesting one. I had to do my homework a bit more on this one. But I mean, since 2022, it seems to be working on its turnaround story, and there have been, improvements in the management as well as earnings and the cash flows. But I think what the market is basically concerned about is that the cash flows are not happening as fast. They're not reaching the earnings target that they anticipate. It's not happening fast enough. But I mean, it looks like, the management team is doing really good to partner with, the likes of ChatGPT to make instant purchases and, other AI-driven shopping environments, which could potentially expand its reach. It also wants to, just like Shoprite wants to open its own bank, but that would require, substantial capital and a lot of manpower from management. But from a branding position, I think it's in a good place, and its solid operations could present steady growth.
Right, your stock pick, but in a nutshell, very quickly, what are you looking at?
Oh, very quickly. Sure. Mine is Southern Sun. It's a standout recovery on the JSE. And once again, since COVID, occupancy rates have been steadily improving. And I like its diversified portfolio. And looking at its financials, it's been stably deleveraging and basically placing good earnings and free cash flows. And overall, occupancy rates are also increasing. So I really like the stock. I think it's in a good position to grow.
Boitumelo, thank you so much. Boitumelo Letsuma, good to chat to you on Business Lunch, independent global market analyst.